Like every superhero origin story, with power comes responsibility. When we move this to the teams, within our Agile teams or software development teams, it's more like with autonomy comes accountability. I will start by giving some background on this topic and that balancing act that we need to have. And then I'll also give some tips on how you can use it for your teams. Whether you're a seasoned professional or brand new, you won't want to miss this video.
In the realm of team dynamics, two words often pop up: autonomy and accountability. But what do they mean exactly? Now let's break it down. Autonomy in the simplest terms is the freedom to make decisions and take actions independently. It's like being the captain of your own ship, charting your course, deciding when to drop anchor, or when to set sail. It's about having the liberty to innovate, to explore new territories, and to make choices without constant supervision or direction. On the flip side, we have accountability. It's akin to being responsible for the ship you're captaining. If you make a decision and it leads to smooth sailing, you deserve the credit. But if it leads to a storm, you have to face the consequences. In other words, accountability is about owning the outcomes of your decisions and actions, good or bad. Both autonomy and accountability are pivotal for a team's success. Autonomy fuels creativity and motivates team members by giving them a sense of control. Meanwhile, accountability ensures that this freedom is used wisely and productively, keeping everyone focused on the team's goals. So, in essence, autonomy is the freedom to act, while accountability is the responsibility for the results. Now, let's see these concepts in action. Consider Spotify, the global music streaming giant. They've managed to strike an impressive balance between autonomy and accountability within their teams. The secret to their success? The innovative use of a squad structure. In Spotify's world, each squad is a mini ecosystem, a self-contained team accountable for a specific aspect of the product. Whether it's improving user interface, optimizing algorithms, or enhancing playlist features, each squad has a unique mission. And here's where it gets interesting. Spotify gives these squads the autonomy to make decisions. Yes, you heard that right. The squads have the freedom to plan, execute, and manage their work. They're trusted with the responsibility to drive their project forward without excessive micromanagement or interference. However, autonomy doesn't mean anarchy. With freedom comes responsibility. Accountability is the other side of the Spotify coin. Each squad's performance is regularly reviewed and feedback is provided, helping them understand where they stand and how they can improve. But Spotify takes it a step further by separating salary discussions from coaching and feedback. This approach ensures that feedback sessions are focused on growth and improvement, rather than being overshadowed by compensation concerns. Such a system fosters an environment where innovation thrives while keeping the squads aligned with the overall objectives of the company. It's a delicate balance, but Spotify has managed to pull it off, creating a culture where employees feel empowered and accountable at the same time.
I want to thank everybody for making it this far in the video. Remember, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe, like this video. Continues more content going forward. Now, let's get back into the topic.
Spotify's model is a testament to the power of coupling autonomy with accountability. But how can we strike that balance in our own teams? Balancing autonomy and accountability is not a one-size-fits-all solution. It requires clear communication, trust, and a feedback system. Now let's delve into what this really means. Firstly, it's all about setting clear, measurable objectives. This ensures everyone understands what they're accountable for. It's like mapping out a journey. You need to know your destination and the key milestones along the way, but knowing where you're going isn't enough. You also need a feedback system. This is your compass, your GPS. It helps you learn, grow, and adjust your course as needed. It's through feedback that team members get to understand their strengths and areas of improvement. And then there's trust. This is the fuel that powers the engine of autonomy. Trust your team members to make decisions, to innovate. But remember, with freedom comes responsibility. So while we encourage creativity and out-of-the-box thinking, we also emphasize the importance of following proven routines and practices. Remember, the right balance of autonomy and accountability can spark innovation, boost engagement, and drive your team to new heights of success. By striking this balance, you're not just fostering a positive work environment, but also setting your team up for greatness.
So let's look at autonomy and accountability. This is important because in order to have a high-performing team, you need to have a balance between these two items in order to be successful here. And so one thing to keep in mind, it's a balance. So meaning that there are different quadrants you can be in, and it could still work out, right? But really, if you can kind of look at it in this form, you can kind of understand a little bit more of where your team's at and how you can change to be in maybe a area or quadrant that's increases your efficiency within your team, or increases the happiness within your team as well, right? So there's a lot of items in here, and it goes from the notion of that if you assign someone to do something and say it's done by this date, right? They're given and kind of pushed onto them. Meanwhile, if you switch it a little bit and you say, hey, here's some of the dates, what can you commit to? It's more of a negotiation, and when they say, yes, I can do this, there's more accountability there, right? So you're giving them more autonomy on what gets done and when, but on the opposite end, you get someone that actually can commit to that, right? And they're more likely to take it personally, and more likely to do whatever they can do to get that job done. So take a look at here. So on the top left, if you don't have any autonomy and accountability, you might be in the chaos realm, right? Things are kind of wild. Things like deadlines might get pushed, and work might get pushed on people, and there's no accountability. So it's just kind of whatever gets done, it will. So if you've had this situation before, maybe you're in the situation today, maybe this lesson will help kind of switch into a different quadrant here. Hopefully the top right. If you have a lot, and going back here, this top left-hand quadrant is a lot of autonomy and no accountability. So everybody can do whatever they want, but there's no accountability on getting the items done. So a little bit of chaotic. If you go here in the bottom left quadrant, which is no accountability and no autonomy, people are disengaged, right? They don't care if things are getting done. There's no autonomy, so you can't do whatever you want. Kind of feels like things are getting forced onto the group or the team. So they become disengaged, right? They don't become owners themselves of that project or those features. So this quadrant can be detrimental to the group as well. Let's talk about no autonomy, but a lot of accountability. This is where this micromanagement comes in here, right? You're fully accountable, but you can't do what you need to do to get done. I'm going to tell you what it needs to get done, right? And that can be in that micromanagement area where you're kind of really picking apart what the team should do and by when. And you might not even be an expert in that area. Now they're very distributed with cloud and hybrid environments. It gets difficult to know every single thing. And so you really have to rely on the experts in the field, and that can lead to a little bit of micromanagement. So where you want to be is a lot of autonomy and a lot of accountability, right? So, hey, they're going to commit and create those timelines, but in the end, they have to deliver on that, right? So you have that balance, really pushing it onto the teams of what they can commit to. And that's what really produces high-performing teams, because they feel accountable for something they committed to for the stakeholders or for management, depending on those who are the audience for those timelines or roadmaps are, maybe the customer. So really important, you want to get in this top right-hand quadrant. So how do we get there, right? How do we get there? So I have some steps here that I think will be good to start with, especially if you're trying to figure out if you're maybe in one of these other quadrants here, this green, pink or orangish, or I guess you could be reddish quadrants here. So in order to kind of get those steps to actually get into that high-performing quadrant, first thing, agreed on team values. So what does your team care about? What do they don't care about, right? So that's first thing, making sure that you are building what all of you agree upon is realistic from the team. And the second thing is setting clear expectations. So now that you understand what each other's values are and what's realistic and what's not from the team, now you say, hey, from here on out, you're responsible, accountable for what's delivered now, because you now have, we talked about alignment on what was fair and what's not, and what we value, and then now let's making sure that when you commit to something, then I'm gonna expect it to be done, right? And then it kind of attaches on to number 3, which is how do you measure that, right? What does success look like, right? And getting those measurements, getting that data to back up that is really important. So there's no gray area of like, oh, I thought I was complete, but my complete definition was something that was different, right? And there's misalignment there. 4th is to communicate expectations. So making sure that everybody's aware of those expectations, communicate that, document it, put it on a Confluence page like this. So in the end, when we come down to the end of the sprint or the end of that time box, is that we have to hold the team accountable, right? They made the timelines. They discussed what they needed to be successful. They said what they needed support from leadership. And at the end, they either delivered or not, right? So that's kind of where holding the team accountable will can get you more on this accountability quadrant here. And then provide feedback often and frequent. So it shouldn't be at the end of a quarter or end of 6 months, the end of a year. Every sprint, right? Every week, every 2 weeks, you should be giving feedback to making sure the team is successful in this plan, right? Making them feel like they're supported. Being that servant leader is important. And so you need to get it frequent and often. So very important there. So this is the balance between autonomy and accountability. And you might have to scale. So sometimes you're on one or the other. And so you got to find that balance of what works for the team, because this is where you can really turn a good team to a great team. So important to understand and really focus on this as a team goal and as leaders within the group, working your way to making sure you're in that high performing. So I appreciate everyone in this video. Please subscribe, like this video, and I'll see you in the next series.